I already talked about the boys and children, and what life was like for them, and what you know was Mama as far as a long time ago. If you kind of notice that these talks that I'm having mainly are about history, um, how people used to do them long time ago, and some of what is happening how much. But it's trying to build the way that how did this come to be right now, what it used to be like long time ago, because that's the question that a lot of people ask. So I think a lot of people Mosahoid Idam is those people that liked history. Everybody else is, it's good information. But a lot of it is in the books, but they're not really telling the whole story in the books. They only tell a little bit, just enough to, to say something about it, I guess. But so how much this time is regarding the issue about women and Hasmah Mapchoy Gogi. The olden days, how it was understood about women and the sacredness of the woman. There's a book that I like to use in the classes. Um, there's different kind of versions as the time goes on. They change the cover, but this one is called Papa Goldman. But the new ones are called an autobiography of a Papa Goldman. The other one is the autobiography of a Papa Goldman. So, but it's the same book. It's just different covers. I don't know. I guess the next edition they changed the style or whatever. But it seems to be the same pages, page numbers and everything, and the photos are all the same, except maybe the forwards or something will change. But so Hoogie in that book is going to use that as a basis for talking about the women issue. But when guys before, when a man had a woman, or when a couple had a woman, a baby, had a female, that they had to get ready right away, start saving their stuff a long time ago. Start saving their stuff and making little things and putting it away, because they know that that girl one of these days is going to menstruate. And when she starts her menstruation, they're going to have to do this dancing thing. They call it waka, 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 waka. Um, and what happens is, like I said before, the boy can make babies through his whole life from the beginning to the end. For women, they start at the beginning, they can't, and then they get to where they get menstruation, and then after that they can have babies all the way up until they stop, which is like about, I don't know, 50, 60, around there. Then they can have babies anymore, and then they go over here, and then that's it. So for men, through their whole life they can make babies. For women, just a part of their life. So that's the difference between males and females. And so a woman is born, a little girl is born, and the man or the family starts to save stuff again, because there's this thing that's going to happen, this magical thing. Now, girl goes through life and she is taught like that, and then she hits that part where that thing happens. That's some chemicals or whatever inside her system cause her to start, to produce babies, to be able to produce babies, and the body starts to change, and there's no real telling when. A lot of Mirgan, they say, oh, when she gets to be 10 or 12, then she's going to do this. But in autumn, we've always known it that it's up to the girl, it's up to the time to get the aha, and whatever power that is, it's not going to tell you, it's just going to come. So I know some girls that had it like 7 years old, and others that had it way late, into their teens. And so it just depends on again, that ability, but to get the aha. But a long time ago, a girl was taught to do stuff, and but also taught to what to do when that happens. They're supposed to go hide themselves away. So what happened a long time ago is the girl's doing her thing, and then so she starts to notice, like stuff, and so she tells her mom, or she goes right away to tell her aunt or whatever, and right away they take her to this little hut that they have behind their house. Most families had this little hut, and all of the families, and all the culture, they had these little huts outside, and the women will go in there. And so this little girl will go in there, and then she would stay in there for 4 days. The menstruation would happen, and during that time, there's a woman that is selected. Usually, it's the father or the mother's older sister, or their older sisters, the ones that have passed menstruation. They're not menstruating anymore. They're usually the ones that will go and they'll take that little girl, and they'll watch her. They'll talk to her, tell her stuff how to be when she gets older, and then also they will feed her a little bit of food, but at the same time, just it's a fast. There's certain things that they're not allowed to eat, and they also eat just a little bit, not a whole sandwich, probably like a quarter. And so that's because that's a sacred time for them. And so they go through that, and they pass that, and during that time the men get ready, and they around the area they'll create like a dance floor, and then after that they would have this dance. Look at that waka, it's a ceremony, and they would dance her for a long time, sometimes like a full month. I guess it just depended on how rich the family was, but you had to really get ready and store a lot of food. That's why Autumn stored a lot of food. It wasn't, just for the winter. It was because when that happened, all the people that came to dance for her, they would get fed at midnight, or around, or at night. So they would come and they would dance, and this dance that they did, it's a back and forth. I know the Navajos and some Apaches, they do that dance now, where they go back and forth like that. We had the same dance, the same steps, whatever, back and forth, and so that was that. And the girl would stand there, and then her godmother, or the one that is watching her, would stand on this side, and the husband of that lady would stand on this side, and they would keep her awake as she's going all night, and they would keep her dancing. So they would dance a few songs, and they would stop, and then they would rest a little bit, and then they would go. And during that time, when the song is going and the song stops, then everybody will look at the girl and go and bless her with their breath, bless her. And that's just to give her blessing and to ward off all the bad stuff that that might come during that night. So they're giving her strength. So they do that all those nights, 16 nights, sometimes for a full month, and they'll go and in that book, Paprika Woman, she talks about how they did her for a whole month, and after that, then after that time came when the dancing was finished, and these they would go for like the whole time, and the boys and the girls would come, her relatives would come, and they would dance with her all night. They would dance with her. They won't sleep, they won't go anywhere, they would dance with her all night. And then so all those ones that stayed awake and was with her all that time, they were the ones that received those gifts. They would receive stuff like gifts of food and whatever, their family, because no, like if you're gonna how do you say, be with somebody and you're going to stay with that person through the whole night, even though you're tired and you're sleepy or whatever, but you're gonna hang all the way. That's what just like peak early, and keep her strong. So that was what it was. Nowadays, it wouldn't. I don't know if anybody would do that, but I mean, like even you see at the wakes and the funerals, that thing is still followed a long time ago in the Autumn culture, where somebody that will go, or the relatives are supposed to go and stay awake all night with that person as they're laying in during their wake, They're not supposed to go to sleep or whatever. But that part is, matabajan ka ba huhog, but that's why the autumn do that, because again, it's to keep the strength for that person. So it's kind of like I'm praying for you. Well, show it. Okay, well here I am, and I'm dancing all night through. So that's what to get that work goes. And then after that was over, then the parents would take the girl to get the beat, the sacred clay. There are certain people that do the sacred clay. Um, it used to be in each community there would probably be like 7 people that could do that ceremony. Now it's just like you have to go to the next community or way over there to get the clay from somebody. But a long time ago, there was a lot of them that knew. And they grew up those songs that there were a lot of people that knew a lot of those songs, those waka songs. And they would bless the girls. Um, so the man that led the thing would know a lot of songs, but he would get to the end where he doesn't know any, so the other ones would chime in and they would sing their songs. These are songs that the elder brother, Montisuma, taught the people, and so they learned them like that. And so they're doing this, and they wouldn't repeat a song. They would just keep going and singing the next songs there. And then, and my grandfather talked about it when he was young. He said that there was always a waka in the community. There was always like 2 or 3 families that were having a waka. So they would say like, "I'm gonna go over there. Let's go over there." And they're having waka. We're gonna eat because they were the puke. They were hungry all the time. And so they would say, "No, we'll go over there to the other man. Those guys serve real good food. Okay, so they'll go over there, and the next night they will go over there." So it was just like that. There's always some place that was doing this. So this girl is doing that waka, and she finishes and she gets the clay, and then they give her a name. Babies a long time ago really didn't get a name. They were just kind of like given the clay, and then they earned their name. Whatever they did, then they would name them like that. But for that ceremony, they would give them a name. Whatever the name is sacred to them. So, and so, but the woman's power is strong, and during that time when she's menstruating, the first time it's really strong. You ever notice that in these movies that they show that girl got possessed? It's usually a little girl about that age. That how do you say, got possessed? It's about that age, like because I think that's the God answer to what Autumn knew all along, was that the sacred time, and if you don't control it, you don't take care of it, some demons can come in there and take over that girl's spirit. And so they did this to kind of like stop it. I'm just using that example, but about the age. So these girls would do that. Now after that, every month they will do that. Whenever their menstruation would start, they would go into the little hut and stay there. And if she had a baby, if she got pregnant, then she wouldn't need to go there because she's not menstruating. But after she finishes, and then as soon as she starts menstruating, she will go, and everybody knew she was over there. They wouldn't question anything. Where is she at? I bet she's over there, because everybody knew that a long time ago women did that, and they didn't have to tell anybody. Other women or their friends come around, they wouldn't ask, if she's not home. Probably that, I don't know. Males wouldn't ask for. That's why males and females were kept apart, so the males won't be coming to visit like nowadays. You go to see that girl over there, and you go the next night, and because you couldn't do that back then, because what if she's not home and she's menstruating? It's the holy time. You leave her alone. So like that. So women would do that and go into the little hut when it's their time. They call it their moon because it's kind of like the moon. It's a circle shape, and then it goes and it dies, and then it goes and it looks like a banana, and then it's half, and then it goes back up, then it goes and dies. So that's the same thing, the cycle that the woman follows, the monthly cycle. Now it's dangerous for the whole family when that happens to a woman. You say that the males are in control and they're supposed to be the ones to decide, but a lot of times it was the females who decided, or the females that it was their system that decided. If a man, if they were going to go onto a salt pilgrimage, a man can't say, "I'm going to go with you guys. I'm going to the salt pilgrimage. I'm going to go and get salt with you guys." He has to go home and ask his woman, and if his woman says no, then he couldn't go, because she knows her menstruation cycle, and if she knows it's coming up, she can't let him go, because that cycle is real strong. And if he goes to the salt pilgrimage and he's over there and she menstruates over here, that could mean bad luck for him. He might die over there, or he might break a bone, or whatever it is. So that's why they said that the women's in control. During war, the same thing. If a woman was menstruating and it was time for war, men wouldn't go because of that. Ceremonies, games, all that stuff, they wouldn't do certain things because the woman is their wife or their sisters are menstruating, and so that's how they did that. So the woman is a very powerful being until they finish their menstruation cycle, like when they're 60 years old or whatever. They don't do that anymore. Then they're allowed to go in where women that are menstruating can make a man sick, or a person sick, can make bad things happen. So there's this thing about doing the dance in the clay, and there was some stories in that book, that Papac Woman, about how women who didn't get the clay or didn't do the proper thing when they got their menstruation, bad things happen. Houses will burn, or people will break their legs or their bones, or people will die. Different things. It's just this weird accidents. Lightning strikes, or tornadoes, or different things like that would happen because a woman didn't do the proper thing during that time. So again, this is autumn, what they did a long time ago. This is how they took care of that before the Europeans came and we started following that clock and that calendar. Before that, it was just Achim, like just us here. So the woman, like if she's pregnant, the guy cannot kill a snake or a deer or whatever during that time, because she's powerful. It's the same thing during the menstruation. Not supposed to do that kind of stuff. Menstruation is seen like a death, because that little thing that was in the woman was supposed to be nourished by a male's body, or a male's what do you call it, sperm, but it wasn't, so it dies off. So it's kind of like that life that wasn't born, it dies off, and that's why the blood comes. So that's how Autumn saw it a long time ago. So it's kind of like a death, but the woman goes off on her own. And nowadays, like, we don't do that anymore. And in history, I think when girls started being taken off the land, and out of the communities, and taken off to boarding school or wherever they went, or actually even just going to school, then they didn't do that. They couldn't do that anymore. When I asked women that were that were born around that time when they were taken to school, and I asked like, did you do anything over there? Like, did somebody come and perform the ceremony, give you the clay? And no, we just knew that that there was nobody around to do that, and they didn't do the dance. No, it didn't. So that dance kind of stopped when the women were taken out. They have a kind of version of that dance, but it's different now. It's a lot of, I think, outside influence that are in that dance. But a long time ago, it was just it was that you did it when the girl menstruated, and then when she was finished with her menstruation, the 4 days, 5 days, whatever it is, then you danced her, and after the dance was over, then they got the clay, which again could be a long time. nowadays it's kind of like because of money, and you have to have like enough money to pay for the food and all that, then it turns into that where it has to be on a Saturday or a Sunday or whatever it is, or a time when the girl's not in school. And so again, women used to go out when they menstruated outside the community and do their thing and then come back. But what if a girl was in school, like 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, 12th grade, whatever, and it's her time to menstruate comes, and she leaves school and she doesn't go back for 4 days, then what happens? Well, she's going to be marked absent. Then if you keep doing that 4 days out of the month, then what happens? Your attendance will go down, and then you miss out because they won't give you a certain grade because you missed too many days of school. Or if a woman starts working someplace and she's like 21 years old and she menstruates, she can't leave her job for 4 days. In the autumn hymn, like a long time ago, that was sacred, but after the government came in, that kind of went away, because if a woman keeps missing work every month for 4 days, then what happens is that she might get fired. So that's another reason that stopped happening. But there's ways that people take care of it now. They like the women, it's really up to the women themselves now, because you can't really tell, and that's why I tell boys, you can't really tell if women's menstruating, so just stay away from them, just leave them alone, and they'll come to you if they're okay. But the traditional families, a lot of women will, during that time when they're menstruating, they'll just stay away from the boys, stay away from the stuff. In a long time ago, when a woman was menstruating, she would go into the little house and she would stay in there during those 4 days, and say if there's a feast or a dance or a ceremony that happened, or like the wine feast or weekend or something, she just doesn't go and she misses out. And she didn't have a problem with that, because that was the culture and that you had to respect and follow the culture. Nowadays it's different. There's a dance on Saturday, and the boy's gonna be over there, and she wants to be there while she starts menstruating. Well, she's still gonna go because the time's different, but yet still that sacredness is still there. So sometimes boys get weak. You see somebody and they're weak, or they get sick, but they don't know why. They're just like all like weak, and they feel their heart is slowing down. Or sometimes they say, well, you've been around too many women that are menstruating and they're getting too close to you. They're hugging you, they're holding your arm or whatever. And so that's why, because that power is really strong. And so, you need to stay away during that time, or just stay away. But a lot of times women, again, like I said, they don't understand that. So they don't follow that process, that procedure about staying away, especially from the people that are like medicine people. Supposed to stay away from them because you take away the energy from their stuff, even their feathers and crystal and stuff. You take the power away. So there's that part there. There are some girls nowadays that have eagle feathers or hawk feathers. A long time ago they weren't allowed that because of that. But nowadays, because people do that, if it's given by a right, certain right by a person that has that authority to do that, then women can't touch the stuff. And even then, if there was a soccer game happening and the woman wanted to play, but then her menstruation came, she would have to go in the menstruating cut and not come out, and she missed that soccer game. Okay, she missed. Back then it was okay. Nowadays girls are, I have to play, they won't win if I don't play, like that. A long time ago it was something that you did that was respected. So again, it's kind of hard nowadays for women to do that. I mean, even like going to the dance or going to eat at the family picnic or the party or somebody's birthday party. But a long time ago it was that sacred where there's a lot of women who much that actually do that stay away from males. And they do the proper thing, even though they can't go into the little hut anymore because they're not out there. First of all, and second of all, because it's not the way that it's done nowadays. But that's the main thing. Is just to stay away from people. That's why the menstruating women and the pregnant women were not at the people's wakes and funerals. Nowadays, there's a lot of girls that go there because their grandpa or their relative or their friend passed away. But a long time ago, they stayed away even then because they're close to death, and yet they have that menstruation, and that mixed together can do some pretty powerful stuff. So that was the thing, and that in that book it mentions that thing they call it snyoichik. 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 That's the woman's power, negative power. And what happens is that if a woman is menstruating, or her first menstruation, and she doesn't tell anybody, or she's not taken care of, then that's where all that stuff will happen. Again, like I said, lightning strikes. I've had a lot of how do you say encounters with that. People tell me stories and things about that Higitsnuichik and how this thing happened, and again it's just really up to them, because we live in this day and time. Some people don't understand it and don't believe it, again because they don't really live traditional or the culture. I think people nowadays are more like they'll give their kids what they want rather than telling them no, you're not going to. I know that a lot of people are like that. That's fine, but I think it's just up to the child. If you let them know, then if they proceed to do something, then paha paha. And again, if you read in that book, it will tell you some of the stuff that they did, and so there's that again. And they from menstruation on, they're made to work, and then that's when they choose their spouse, and then after that, then they take care of themselves again. The girl will go out and do her menstruation, and the guy understands that because it's just part of the culture a long time ago. Now we don't do that anymore. When the guys see a girl walking by and whistle and do all this stuff, and that's just the way that guys are. But then in the old culture, the first thing to realize is that a long time ago, when a woman was walking by, like 400 years ago, you knew that she was not menstruating, because if they were, they would be in the little hut. But nowadays, they don't do that anymore. So a girl can be walking by and she can be menstruating, and the guys are checking her out, all this stuff. And that's why they talk about respecting women as they are, because you don't know if they're menstruating, and something might happen. But so again, we're living in these times. People try to keep as much culture as they can, but for women it was really hard back then because of that. But for men as well, because if the women didn't do the proper thing, then it could hurt them, and that's why there was a guy was talking to me recently. He said that's that in the politics, tribal politics, there's a lot of women now, and I don't know which one of those are doing their womanly thing, their moonly thing. And I said I didn't realize that, and he said that some medicine person told him a long time ago that's why the men step back. That's why the men are not pushing, and it's all these women that are doing stuff. Is because the women stopped going to the little hut and are menstruating among these men, and so because they do that, the men lose their power, and so they don't have enough power to stand up and be the leaders in the communities and in the government and whatever, because women have taken that role, have stepped up, and because of that menstruation cycle that they have, men have to stand back. So, and I never thought about that, till he was mentioning it. But it's something to think about, and how things happen. we're told that menstruation is a sacred thing, and I see a lot of women that are drunk sometimes, or they're high on something, and they're, you can't tell if they're menstruating, so they're walking among us and they're doing all this stuff, and I'm wondering, is that menstruation stronger? Is it hurting people because they're not in their own mind? I mean, they're intoxicated. So I was thinking about that. I thought about when we got married in the autumn, and the person that did the marriage ceremony told my wife, when she's doing her menstruation, that she needs to, like, well, if we're going to use blankets when we go to sleep, she needs to cover with her own blankets for those days, and put her clothes aside. Don't put them with everybody else's. And then when it's time, when she's finished with her menstruation, she needs to take those clothes and wash them separately, not with anybody else. And then because it's going to hurt all of us. And I think we've been pretty good about that. And I think that's one of the reasons, that, like, if I'm eating a chips or whatever, don't share together the food, don't share sodas together, stuff like that, again, because during the menstruation, the woman is very powerful, so in a quiet way, but it's also a very hurtful, a lot of bad things can happen. So but I just wanted to mention that, and again, up in the women that have things, like sacred things, you need to put them away during that time when the menstruation comes. And hugam that are in dance groups, or taka and all that stuff. I got cooked you a long time ago. During that time, you go to the menstruation hut, so you don't play those things. You don't play with that stuff. Some people, even girls now, are playing chicken scratch band. And I'm wondering if those medicine people that told me that would say that during that time, if you're menstruating, you can't go with them to play because, it's the ubitama. But, people will follow their own way, and, but I just wanted to mention this because, again, Tachina, oh no, what's her name? Not Tachina, it's the other girl, Kachina, yeah, one of the Chinas, asked this question, so it took a while, but finally got to it again. So, okay, well, I'll do this for now and let you listen.